Alright, I'm going to start my video off as usual by showing you what I'm carrying today. This is my Ranger Green SNG with a 3/4 ground drop point, and the blade steel is Z-Wear. I'm also carrying my newer gray Paramilitary 3, and this one is in crew wear. And I have my LM nail by Strider Knives, which I think I can get that in the video. Let's see. It's kind of a faint stamp, and this one is in 3V. So all tool steel that I'm carrying today. Now let's roll the intro. Okay, if you're watching my videos in order, this is my second video of the day, and clearly this is the knife of topic. This knife here is the number 35 pattern green banana bone. This is a split of the yellow rose 35 that came out. I actually had a reserve placed for months and months for the 35, because if you guys remember, the 35 actually got pushed back, and I don't remember what ended up coming out. Maybe it was the 66s. I don't know. Something got slipped in front of the 35s in the production schedule, which is not uncommon, and I'm not exactly sure why, but that delayed the 35s. So I had a reserve for a yellow rose 35 Churchill for months. Well, in the process, I got an email from Mike one day, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it said that they were going to split the run of yellow rose, and they were going to do some of those knives in a green banana bone, I guess, colorway, if you want to call it that. So I passed on the first email. I said, you know, I'm going to keep my yellow rose because I didn't want to miss out on the yellow rose. I already have the 74 in yellow rose, so I wanted matching knives. But then I guess apparently everybody passed the first email, so then a second email was sent out, and I thought on it again, and I said, you know what, I better go ahead and get in on this. I can probably pick up a yellow rose at any point in time easier than this. And I don't know if you guys have been keeping up, but the yellow rose has sold out quickly, but these green banana bone knives have seemed to sell out extremely quickly. And I know that there's been controversy about the banana shield. I know we're in the middle of a crisis, and yes, I'm being sarcastic. We're in the middle of a crisis about this this hot dog shield situation. Honestly, guys, I think that the shield is something nice to look at when you're sitting down and looking over a knife, but I had this conversation with my buddy Jordan. I have never owned a knife and been in the process of using it and even noticed what shield was on that knife. So, well, I agree, the hot dog shield is not my favorite. The cloud shield is probably my least favorite of all of them, but I don't think the shield thing is as big of a deal as we all make it out to be. So that's just my 2 cents. Back to the knife. So this is the 35 Churchill frame in green banana bone, again with the banana shield. This is in Northfield trim, which means it has the polished bolsters and polished blades. The first knives to come out on this pattern were the Charlie Campagna SFO and the Blade Forms knife for 2016. So this was actually the first 35. And this one here, I always forget to look it up before I make a video related to this knife. I believe that this is African Blackwood, but I could be wrong. It could be ebony. I don't know. Either way, you can see there are some blonde streaks in the covers. This here is more of a bar shield. This is not a hot dog. Again, back to that conversation. I believe some people, when this came out, they called it the hot dog without a bun. This knife does not have a half stop. It has a spear blade with a long pull, and as you can see there, it says harness jack 10. So this is the 10th harness jack in Charlie's series of harness jacks, and you can see that that secondary blade therefore is an all blade, and this all blade is very fine and it's very pointy. It's very pointy, and this is not something to play around with. The pulls on this knife, oh, there's no half stop on this either, so no half stop on either blade. The pulls are good on this knife. The fit and finish is very good on this knife. It's a single spring knife with a catch bit, which is like a spacer. You can see it there on the end to set the space for the two blades. A nice little recess here. I enjoy it when GEC does these little touches on these knives. A little recess here so you can easily get to the nail nick, which I also appreciate nail nicks over long pulls, but again, that's just my preference. However, with all that said, with the good fit and finish, with this being the first version, I like this knife. Honestly, I feel like this knife is a cut above even this first run here. These do not have half stops either. It's a, it's a smooth, very smooth, and I have not carried this knife because if you just watch my other video or when you do see the other video on the Shatton Morgan, I stupidly decided to carry that for an entire week, and that was a total waste. I wouldn't buy a Shatton Morgan unless you get a great deal on it. But this knife came in during the week, so I did not have a chance to carry it. I haven't flushed the joints. I have not done anything besides take it out the tube, open it a few times, and wipe the oil off the blades. And let me tell you, this knife is smooth, very, very smooth. It's not notchy. It's not a tight pull. It's not too weak. It doesn't. Sometimes when you have a knife with no half stop, there's a camming action, which means as you pull to the half stop, approaching the half stop, there's a certain tension, and then as you pull to the halfway point and beyond, it gets tighter and tighter and tighter. It does that slightly, but not nearly as much as some of my other knives have done. So you can see here, there is a north field etch, which I'm not crazy about. The blades are polished, which I'm not crazy about. On the back here, you can see this swedge, and that swedge is so that the secondary blade can more easily pass. On this side, there's a swedge just on the front portion, and then there is this long pull. Again, very, very nicely sized knife. You can see here, a lot of people I know are concerned about secondary blades and how that's going to feel in hand. I have extra large glove sized hands. My hand is 4 inches from here to this portion of my hand, just for reference. And if I was going to grip this knife, my 3 fingers here wrap around the blade. This finger here falls in this dead space. It's comfortable, no hot spot. I feel like I could hold it like this, no issues. The other way most of us hold a traditional knife is in a pinch grip. And again, same thing. These 3 fingers curve around that blade, and it's right in the bend of my fingers. So there's no hot spot. And these 2 fingers are on the bolster. So again, this is very, very comfortable. And as you can see, it's a very good size. It's a handful, but it's not too big. So I can get in, and if I needed to do some food prep or open a package or, cut a zip tie or open an envelope, whatever it is I was going to need to do, this knife does that very, very well. By the same token, the secondary blade here is a Sheepsfoot Blade, polished with a nail nick. I'm biased to the nail nick. I prefer that. You can see here, this one has a flat grind all the way up to the spine, and there is just a hint of a swedge right here in this portion. On the back, however, you can see there's a larger flat spot here, and a larger bevel, excuse me, here. And again, that is so these knives can pass one another in the blade well. So this knife, the pull is a little bit stronger on this one. I prefer stronger pull. There's no half stop. I would say that the main blade is probably maybe a 6. And I'd say that this is maybe a 7. And also part of that is a function of physics. You don't have, your pull isn't as far out. So you're pulling closer to this pivot point, which is going to make it feel like a harder pull, even if it's not. Single back spring. Again, there is a catch bit here to help space those blades out in the blade well. One of the things that I found very, very impressive is this blade is very, very, very thin. I mean, super thin. I was hoping that the main blade was going to be very thin, but it turns out the secondary blade is the one that they thinned out to an extreme thinness. Here you can see that the main blade starts with a pretty thick stock, and it goes pretty thin, but it's not as thin as I was thinking it was going to be, because if you look at the first 35s, this main blade here was very, very, very thin for a full size blade. It was very thin, and I can show you that side by side. And I believe I showed this in my first video. Like I said, that video I shot at night, I really didn't like it. It was just so I could get something out. Here you can see the knife on the left is from the first batch, and you can see even the blade stock at the base here looks thinner, but these knives, they don't compare. They're thinner. This knife, the first 35, is much thinner than the second run. So I prefer the long blade being thinner, but I prefer this clip point a little bit better, I think. Let me close these knives up. I was going to mention the grip and how it feels when you have the secondary blade open. Again, it's very similar to the first grip I showed you. When I have the main blade closed and the secondary blade open, these two fingers go on the bottom part of this hump right here, the high spot of the blade, and these two fingers kind of go above that. So my fingers are split around the highest point of the knife. So again, while this isn't as comfortable as the first grip, it is still comfortable, and I don't feel like there's a large blade poking me in my hand. So very, very useful. But again, because of this short length, the way I would use a blade like this, I would probably have it in a pinch grip. And then these three fingers drop below that hump or right to the point of that hump. And then these two fingers are going to pinch that bolster. So I can get in and I can, you know, open a package or cut open a plastic package, open a box, whatever I'm going to do. That's how I would use it. Or if you're gonna pull like this, again, you're not even going to touch that blade. So very, very comfortable. Now, with all that being said, I had a couple of requests in my first video for comparison. So you can already see here, this is the first 35 that came out. Very similar dimensions. This is a regular yellow rose. So I don't know how well this is going to come out. I've turned my camera so I could have a different angle for sunlight, but I think you can see there on camera, and I'm not going to adjust anything as far as the colors in the video. I think you can see there, this one is more of a pure yellow, and this one does have kind of a greenish tint. Somebody said that it looked like day glow yellow. I would say it looks almost kind of like the inside of a highlighter. Like if you've ever opened up a yellow highlighter, it looks kind of like that. Somebody also wanted to see this next to a 66. So you can see here, this is the 66 and this is the 35. So the 66 is a little bit smaller, but not a bunch smaller. And if you want to look at the main blades together, clip point versus clip point, you can see here there is a pretty good size difference in the blades. So, well, actually not so much when you lay them over one another, but that will be your difference in size. So I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate your support. If there's anything else you would like to see me compare these knives to, or if there's a video idea that you'd like to see, feel free to mention it down in the comments. Until the next video, I hope to see you guys and have a great day. Thank you.